What do we truly lose when we believe we are evolving? Why, even surrounded by comfort, do we still feel this strange silence inside? Could it be that the bright future we were promised was nothing but a mirage? Modern society is a machine that works, but for what? Zygmunt Bauman might ask in one of his flashes of sociological insight. We live in an age of abundance, surrounded by possibilities, with the world quite literally in the palm of our hands. Yet we grow increasingly distant from ourselves. Byung-Chul, with the surgical coldness of someone observing the terminal patient that is modernity, once wrote that the performance society produces depressives and failures. And it's not hard to see why. Because while we're taught to run, no one teaches us how to stop. While we're programmed to seek, no one shows us how to truly find. Maybe you feel it too. A quiet unease that creeps in during moments of stillness, on a Sunday afternoon, or when your phone freezes on a blank screen. That feeling that something's off, even when everything seems fine. This is the great disappointment of modern society. A promise we were sold that is now beginning to crack. But what if that disappointment is actually a calling, an invitation to see what lies beneath the glittering surface? Since we were kids, we've heard that the world is getting better, that we have more than our parents did, and our children will have even more. The idea of progress seeped into our veins like a godless religion, silent, but all-consuming. We eat better, live longer, have instant access to information, comfort, mobility, and still, we are exhausted, fragmented, lost. This is the cruel paradox of progress. It promised meaning, but delivered speed. It promised wholeness, but gave us stimulation. With each step forward, something essential was left behind. Slow time, unhurried conversations, the necessary emptiness between one thought and the next. Byung-Chul warns that we live in an age where excess positivity and constant stimulation prevent us from thinking deeply. Today, everything is allowed, but freedom has turned into an obligation to perform. In other words, the more we've been told we're free, the more pressure we feel to achieve, to display, to prove our worth. Bauman would call this liquid modernity, where nothing is made to last, neither jobs, nor love, nor ideas. Everything slips through our fingers like wet sand. Progress, when disconnected from our humanity, becomes a moving treadmill that never stops and never leads anywhere. And perhaps this is the greatest lie of our time, that to evolve is to accumulate. Accumulate wealth, achievements, followers, content, experiences. But what about the things that can't be accumulated? Silence, presence, simplicity. We're living a full life, but full of what? The uncomfortable truth is that we've mistaken development for distraction. And in this frantic pace, we're drifting away from something no technology can ever restore: intimacy with ourselves. What's at stake here is not just a lifestyle, it's the very meaning of being alive. We've never been so connected, and yet so alone. We live surrounded by notifications, messages, short videos, emojis. But when the screen goes dark, when the day ends, when the noise fades, the silence reveals something uncomfortable. Most of these connections don't touch us, don't transform us, don't last. Byung-Chul describes this phenomenon with almost painful precision. Digital communication eliminates the other as other. What does he mean by that? That in the age of likes and instant replies, the other person stops being a mystery, a living presence, and becomes merely a reflection of our own desires. We don't listen to understand. We listen to reply, quickly, without pause. The promise was that technology would bring us closer, but what it really brought closer were appearances, profiles, edited versions of lives no one truly lives. We're physically closer, yet emotionally, increasingly distant. Zygmunt Bauman once said that the fragility of modern relationships isn't an accident, but a strategy. Light, easily breakable relationships are ideal for a consumer society. In other words, deep bonds are an obstacle to a system that profits from our emotional instability, because someone who feels whole doesn't consume. Someone with real connections doesn't desperately seek validation through red hearts on a screen, and this is reflected in our everyday lives. How many conversations are interrupted by notifications? How often do we listen to someone without truly being present? We live distracted, from ourselves and from each other. The saddest part is that we've grown used to it. Superficiality has become the norm, indifference, a defense mechanism. The excess of contact has desensitized us, and deep down, we all feel it. Something is missing, something essential. This is the great irony of modernity. It offered unlimited communication, but made us incapable of building true intimacy. And perhaps the most honest question we can ask is, who can I really count on when the outside world goes quiet? Because it's not the contacts in your phone who hold your hand in hard times. It's the connections that can't be measured, can't be filed away, and can't be forgotten. Real connections take time. They require presence. They demand vulnerability. But they are also what save us from the abyss of loneliness. They don't shine like screens, but they warm us, like the touch of a friend's hand on a dark day. And that's where the true revolution begins, in the radical act of genuinely being with another. Waking up early, answering emails, solving pending issues, hitting goals, optimizing time. Ideally, doing all of this before 10 a.m., because after all, time is money, right? We live within a mindset where not being productive feels almost sinful. Rest has become guilt. Taking a break is seen as wasteful. Leisure is a luxury. Productivity has been elevated to the status of the ultimate virtue. And behind that lies one of the most sophisticated forms of oppression in modern society. Byung-Chul leaves no room for doubt. We live in a performance society where each person becomes their own oppressor. We no longer need bosses shouting orders. We silently whip ourselves, constantly demanding more. Burnout isn't an accident. It's the symptom of a system that has turned life into a silent battlefield, where the enemy wears our own face. How many times have you felt the need to be more, to produce more, perform more, prove more? How often have you compared yourself to someone who always seems one step ahead, with more success, more energy, better results? Bauman warned that today's model of success is like a treadmill. You run and stay in the same place. And if you stop, you get left behind. It's an endless race that leads nowhere, except to exhaustion, anxiety, and a chronic sense of not being enough. Work, which could be a path to personal fulfillment, has become a means of emotional survival. We don't work just for money anymore. We work to justify our existence, to feel worthy, to earn rest, to earn love, to earn respect. But what if this is all a trap? What if we're confusing productivity with purpose? What if we're measuring our souls with a spreadsheet? The system taught us that we only exist when we're useful, that the value of a life lies in its ability to deliver results. But the truth, and it might sting a little, is that this model was never designed to make us happy. It was designed to work, to keep turning. And what doesn't turn is thrown away. What doesn't produce becomes invisible. What slows down is seen as weak. That's why we're exhausted. Because true rest takes courage. The courage to say, today I am not a machine. Today I just am. And maybe that's where true freedom begins. In the moment we stop measuring our worth by our productivity. In the instant we realize that the most precious time isn't the time that yields results, but the time that moves us, that transforms us. The question that remains is, how many parts of ourselves are we willing to sacrifice in the name of a success that never truly embraces us? What if everything we've been searching for out there has always been right here inside? After all the running, the producing, the consuming, the interacting, the comparing, the performing, what's left? A weariness that's not just physical, but spiritual. A silent restlessness that whispers in moments of stillness. A question that refuses to go away. Is this all there is? Byung-Chul reminds us that an excess of stimuli and information kills contemplation. We've lost the habit of pausing, of observing, of simply existing without trying to turn everything into a result. Society taught us how to do, but it forgot to teach us how to be. And that's why we've become so disconnected from ourselves. Because what truly matters is quiet, and we've become deaf. The essential doesn't shout, it waits, like a small flame deep in our consciousness, still burning despite the wind. Bauman would say we need bonds, roots, spaces where we're seen not for what we do, but for what we feel, for who we are. And for that, we need courage. The courage to swim against the current of noise, haste, and appearances. True transformation doesn't begin when we acquire something new, but when we shed everything we're not. When we stop searching for meaning in what we own and begin to find it in what we nurture. Relationships, silences, presence, gestures, as simple as that. And precisely because it's simple, it's revolutionary. Maybe the greatest act of resistance today is to slow down, not to rush, not to reply, not to compete. Maybe living with intention, with presence, with honesty, is the new luxury, a luxury available to those who dare to look within. Have you ever noticed how the most meaningful moments in life almost never have a camera, an audience, or a post? They happen in the quiet of an embrace, in the eye contact of a conversation no one records, in the smell of freshly brewed coffee on an ordinary morning. That's where the essential lives. And what if the great disappointment of modern society is, deep down, an invitation, a call to come back home, inward, back to where life truly happens? In the end, maybe the real disappointment of modern society isn't what it took from us, but what it made us forget, who we are, what we feel, what truly matters. We were taught to run, but not to arrive, to produce, but not to feel, to connect, but not to bond. And now, in the midst of so much abundance, we're rediscovering that what we lack the most can't be bought, downloaded, or measured. It's funny how the deepest truths are also the simplest. You are not your productivity. You are not your profile. You are not what you accumulate. You are what you touch, what you feel, what you silently share. You are the pause between one breath and the next. You are the presence that remains when everything else fades away. So the question is, what are you waiting for to come home? You know, a few years ago I was in that exact place, an emptiness disguised as success. I remember one night in particular. Everything was fine. Work was on track. The house was tidy. The bills were paid. But there was a hole inside me. I sat on the couch, alone, no noise, no screen. And I asked myself, is this it? That night, I realized I was living a life that had been designed but not felt. I was a reflection of expectations, not of my true self. And in that exact moment, I began this journey back to what really matters, back to myself. Maybe that's why this video exists. Because if you've made it this far, maybe you're on this path too, and you're not alone. I'm here with you. And so many others are silently awakening to the same calling. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening with your heart. Thank you for allowing yourself to feel. Now I want to offer you something that's not for everyone, but it is for you. You, who made it this far in search of deeper answers about who you are and where your life is going. I created something that goes beyond a book. I built a map for the soul, a manual that weaves together science, philosophy, and critical thinking to help you break mental patterns, question your identity, and rebuild yourself from the ground up. This isn't a feel-good quote book. It's a guide for those who can no longer stand living on autopilot. If you feel like something inside you is calling for change, for growth, for clarity, then this is your moment. Click the pinned comment and access the Self-Transformation Manual now. Don't read it out of curiosity. Read it because your life depends on it. And if you decide to begin this journey, you won't be the same at the end of the road. If this message touched you in any way, I'm asking for a small favor, which honestly is huge. Like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. I know it might seem like just another button, but every click is a chance for this reflection to reach someone who might really need it today. And before you go, take a look at the videos popping up on your screen. I could tell you what they're about, but I think it's more interesting to let you find out for yourself. Let's just say they dive even deeper into some of those questions we only begin to ask when the world finally goes quiet. See you there, and more than anything, may we meet within once again. Talk soon.